Hey there, welcome into this Thursday edition of NASCAR Race Hub. Shannon Spake is off covering the National Football League. We'll see her back here on Monday. I'm Adam Alexander. Jeff Hammond is here. And I think for the first time ever on the Hub, on a Thursday show, we have got a playoff contender. Welcome in Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Must miss my flight.
Yeah, but you're styling the profile, man. You're looking sharp. And are you ready to go?
Hanging here.
You ready to get going here?
Ready to go.
You didn't leave us hanging, but you might have upstaged us with that sport coat. That is nice.
That.
Hey, we're talking all about the championship, and since Ricky is in, let's go ahead and show everyone how things break down as we go to Chicago this weekend. #1 seed, great regular season for Martin Truex Jr., but go right down there, PA. Ricky, 2010, got those 2 victories in the regular season, so he's got those 10 playoff points heading off this weekend to Chicagoland Speedway. I'm curious, Ricky, as we begin the playoffs, do you feel the added energy in the garage area? Will it be different when you get to Chicago tomorrow?
I definitely think it will. I'm excited to be a part of the playoffs and get to Chicago. Over the last few years, I haven't been in that playoff scenario, even though I really like all the 10 tracks that we have in the playoffs, but our team is super pumped.
When you say super pumped, what is the focus? I mean, how are you approaching the playoffs? Any different than what you did during the regular season?
We've been working really hard on our Chicagoland car and really trying to take one race at a time. But being at the shop on Tuesday, had a big meeting with the whole team and the whole shop, and everybody's been tasked to focus really hard on everything that they're doing.
Your first trip to the playoffs, but the first time for everybody in this format with stage points and all that goes into being successful in the postseason. How does it work? Here's a little reminder from our guy, Larry Mack.
The regular season has ended, and the time for the playoffs is now. So with that, let's take a look at the playoff point standings for the 2017 Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. The building blocks of this year's postseason are points that we have with the black block, 5 points for a race win. Then there's the green block, that's 1 point for that stage win. And then for those drivers that finished in the top 10 in points for regular season, we have the blue block, that's 1 playoff point apiece. So now let's put these blocks to use and talk about Martin Truex Jr. Think about this, 18 stage wins. And how about those 4 race wins? Remember, they're 5 apiece, so that comes out to 20 more playoff points. And he capped it off by being the regular season points leader. He gets those 15 playoff points. That's 53 playoff points. Rounding out the second and third spots is the Kyle and Kyle show. Kyle Larson, 3 stage wins, 4 race wins, finished second in the regular season points. Kyle Busch, 11 stage wins, 2 race wins. He finishes third in the points, 29 playoff points. The next set of drivers represent a nice spread among the teams. Let's start over here with Brad Keselowski. 4 stage wins, 2 race wins, and he gets 5 playoff points for where he finished in the points. How about Jimmie Johnson? Only 1 stage win. He did get those 3 race wins. He finished 10th in the regular season point, gets 1 playoff point for that. Let's go to Kevin Harvick. 3 stage wins, the win on the road course at Sonoma, 7 playoff points for where he finished in the points. And over here with Denny Hamlin, 2 stage wins, 2 race wins, and he gets 6 playoff points. But remember Darlington? An encumbered finish, he does not get those 5 playoff points. Now, playoff spots 8, 9, and 10 include some fresh faces and 2 first-time race winners. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., no stage wins, but 2 race wins. Ryan Blaney, 3 stage wins, and that win at Pocono. Chase Elliott, still looking for that first career win, won 2 stages, finished 7th in the regular season points. That gets him 4 more playoff points. Coincidentally, Ryan Newman, Kurt Busch, Casey Kane, Austin Dillon, they're all identical. 1 race win apiece, no stage wins, no playoff points for regular season points finish. Pretty cut and dry. At the bottom of the round of 16 is Matt Kenseth and Jamie McMurray. Neither finished a race P1 this season, but Matt Kenseth did get 3 stage wins, finished 9th in the points for 2 more playoff points. Jamie McMurray finished 8th in the points for 3 playoff points. So if you're starting the playoffs now, would you rather start the playoffs with 3 playoff points, 5 playoff points, or Martin Truex Jr.'s 53 playoff points? I now know the importance of stage wins and race wins.
Larry has been breaking down playoff points since January, but a great explanation there of what it means to have a big pile of points. And since things are different this year, how do you manage the postseason?
The postseason is going to be, you know, kind of, I feel like touch and go as we're going through each of these races. I think the old format, you kind of knew if I finished this position, I was going to be okay, at least in the first round. Now you're going to have to keep up with all 16 drivers getting stage points, second stage points, and then finishing position. So it's going to constantly change as the race goes through.
You know, what I'm saying, if you've got a race car that can win and win the stages, you need to take advantage of it. You need to go up there, basically pad those points as much as you possibly can. If your car is off a little bit that day, I think you got to take advantage of what's in front of you. Try to maybe go up there and steal some stage points to kind of add to your side. So it's going to be a lot of strategy going on during these this early part of this playoff.
Can you believe that this is already the 14th season where we've had a regular season and a postseason? The last time we had no playoffs, 2003, when driver 17, then Matt Kenseth, won the championship for the Roush Fenway organization. He only had one win that year, but he clinched the title early, doing so at Rockingham. Matt is now driving for Joe Gibbs Racing. He's in the playoffs every year. This season, he is the 15th seed, and we talked to him yesterday as a part of Media Day. Congratulations on making the playoffs, and now I would like you to rank these 4 days. Packers win the Super Bowl, Christmas Day, your birthday, and playoff media day in NASCAR. How would those days stack up for you?
You know, they're all pretty close to a tie. I'd say my birthday and media day are real close to a tie because I wanted to stop counting birthdays quite a while ago.
Okay, so now that we've got the interview off and rolling, before we look ahead, I want to rewind to Saturday night. I know. I want to rewind to Saturday night, and you come down pit road, you get the damage, you go behind the wall, your night is done. And you know if we get a new winner, there's a lot of uncertainty about whether or not you're going to be a part of the playoffs. Where were you those last 150 laps, and what were you thinking watching the race unfold?
Well, after they made me go to the care center, I just was sitting on the couch in the motorhome watching the last 100 laps on TV.
Is that nerve-wracking for you, having no control over what's happening and your fate in the hands of other drivers?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I feel like I had a lot of control. I mean, Saturday night was just, you know, 1/26 of the races we had to be able to win or gather enough points to be locked in or do any of those things, and just kind of came down the wire. You know, I was kind of watching. It looked like it was winding down, and Martin was going to win, and obviously they threw that late race caution, kind of mixed things up, and then it was a little bit more unpredictable.
Given the uncertainty for 2018, is there added motivation for you in the playoffs this year?
No. I mean, I think, you know, if you have to add more motivation or make somebody work harder or do any of that kind of stuff, then you don't have the right guy. So I put in 100% effort every week. I prepare as hard as I can, race as hard as I can, try to be ready and do the best job I can do each and every week.
With this format, how does the level of aggression change once we get into the postseason, Matt?
You know, I think it's all, you know, situational. I feel like all season really with, you know, really any time, but with wins being so important and now with stage points at the end of all these stages, I mean, I think it's always pretty aggressive. Everybody's always racing as hard as they can. It's tough to pass, you know, so everybody's, you know, aggressive for whether it's on pit road, whether it's a restart, long run, whatever it is. Everybody's fighting for those positions every lap.
A successful playoff run for you is what?
Winning a championship.
Okay. I figured that's where you would go. Great to have you with us. Congratulations on making it into the postseason. All the best at Chicago and moving forward, Matt.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Championship or bust for driver 20. And the one thing that likely needs to change in the stat column if he is going to deliver his second championship this year, he needs to win. Something they didn't do in the first 26 races, but boy, do they have speed. And when you talk about veterans in the postseason, you go the route of Matt Kenseth, and then you think about Casey Kane and Ryan Newman. These drivers did win. Newman at Phoenix, Kane at Indianapolis. What are they thinking going into the playoffs?
It was nice to be locked in the last few weeks, especially Darlington and Richmond time, when things get sometimes a little bit crazy, but that was always usually good practice for us. there's so many unknowns, strategy-wise, stage-wise. 16 teams that are in versus the 24 teams that aren't. Just not making any mistakes. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, you cannot make mistakes, still lose. So we'll stay focused on ourselves and do what we have to get the Caterpillar Chevrolet and Granger Chevrolet in victory lane.
Great to win the Brickyard, regardless of anything. Just to win there at Indianapolis was unreal, and and that puts us in the playoffs, gives us a chance to really move up from where we've been the rest of the first part of the season. Really feel like we can do a lot better than what we've done up to this point. We had a lot of speed at some of the tracks since Indy, and I think we can keep building on that. It's great to be in the playoffs. It's great for myself and the team, all of us. So yeah, it's kind of a bit of a jump start and see what we can do.
So much about the youth movement right now in NASCAR, and rightfully so, but I think about these veterans that really have a chance to make a splash. Matt Kenseth may be at the top of the list. No wins in the regular season, Ricky, but boy, have they had speed.
They did. They crawled their way back from a really bad start to the season. If you looked at his first handful of races, and then he climbed his way up to 9th in the points. Look at those three and see a couple of veteran drivers that haven't solidified their rides for next year. And I do agree with Matt, though. There's no extra motivation out there. You just got to go get it.
And the thing is, when you look at those numbers that you had up there, I see where Matt Kenseth, he's leading laps. If you're leading laps, you got a shot to win. The other guys, they struggled as far as being competitive like they need to, and leading laps is a key indicator as far as the speed in a race car. Matt Kenseth has got that. And the other thing is that Wiley veteran, he is just as cool, as it can be when in a situation like he's in right now.
All 4 Gibbs cars in the round of 8 last year, and they all have speed again this year. Of course, Suarez did not make the cut. More to come on Race Up. The first edition of the 2017 War Room is ready. Don't miss our bold predictions as we tell you who will head to Homestead and who will take home the title. Welcome to the playoffs 2017. We are in the War Room. We're going from 16 to 1. Are you guys ready for this?
Absolutely.
And next, we hear from 2 of those title contenders, Brad Keselowski and Denny Hamlin, when the hub rolls.
If you're a NASCAR fan, there's a new podcast for you to subscribe to. Heritage Road, the podcast that drives you down memory lane, takes you under the hood, and gets you behind the wheel of America's favorite racing competition. They talk to the hardworking drivers, crewmen, and fans that made NASCAR possible then and now. From NASCAR royalty Bobby Allison to the broadcasters that brought racing into homes around the country, they've got all the stories you've probably never heard before. Hosted by the voice of Texas Motor Speedway, Rich Phillips, and brought to you by Busch, the beer that has supported racing since 1979.
We're back on this Thursday edition of NASCAR Race Up, talking about title contenders. You have to put Denny Hamlin on the list. He has been close to winning a Cup title. You go 2014, 2006 when he finished 3rd, and his best opportunity came in 2010 when he was a runner-up to Jimmy Johnson. And as we enter the playoffs in 2017, one thing is for sure, Hamlin has momentum and plenty of confidence.
Well, we're running good. Our cars are fast. That's 2 very important things that you need to win a championship and keep moving on round to round. Is you got to have fast cars. Luck will come into factor at some point in the playoffs. You hopefully the caution that comes helps you. It doesn't hurt you. But I think that we're pretty optimistic the way we're running right now. We can make a strong, deep run in the playoffs.
When this format came out, you're one of the drivers I thought of immediately because of the way the track's set up and how strong they are for you. How do you evaluate the schedule and how it is so well suited for where you've been good over the years?
It has. I mean, really, some of our best racetracks are at the very end. Texas is the only hiccup that we had throughout the season of the chase tracks. A lot of it was because of the repave, but I think we have a better understanding of where we need to be now that we ran that race. But yeah, the 3rd round is the most important. I mean, I think look at Martinsville and Phoenix, 2 races that we always run very, very strong at, and that's essentially our ticket to Homestead.
Talk about going to Homestead. You were there the first year of this format in 2014, round of 8 last year. All of that good experience in the postseason, what does that do to build confidence for you and the 11 team?
Well, it's a good feeling. I mean, I've been through every scenario I think possible through these playoffs. I've had the craziest things happen that's knocked us out, and you know, we haven't had the best fortune when it comes to the playoffs, but we've always seemed to perform better in the playoffs than what we do in the regular season, and that's pretty optimistic, knowing that, you know, the type of run that our team is on over the last 3 months. So pretty optimistic, as a lot of drivers are, but I can tell you, you know, when you know you can unload at each and every one of these racetracks and win any given one, that's probably something that only half these drivers in the playoffs can really say.
Denny, good luck. Keep it rolling. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you soon.
All right, thank you.
We made a case last segment for his teammate Matt Kenseth. Pretty hard to argue with Denny Hamlin in the postseason as well, Ricky.
Oh, that's for sure. I think even though they had issues with tech after that Darlington win, I think that Darlington weekend as a whole was pretty big for them, you know, getting a win going into the playoffs and, you know, following that up with a strong run at Richmond.
Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I was going to say, you know, the thing is that I'm seeing from him, I see that level of maturity of handling something like that and moving past it, because I think there's several teams, in particular the 22 team, didn't fare too well last time they got hung with an encumbered win. I think they rallied back pretty strong.
We touched on the 11. We touched on the 20. We haven't mentioned Kyle Busch, who's also in the playoffs for Joe Gibbs Racing. A change coming for them. The 19 team for Daniel Suarez will now go over and pit the 18 car in the postseason. We had that news break earlier in the week. And this isn't the first time in the playoffs that we have seen a pit crew swap. Remember 2010, Jimmy Johnson, the 48 team, not where Chad Knaus wanted him to be. So during the race at Texas, here comes the 24 bunch from Jeff Gordon's pit. I think we know how the rest of this story ended up. Jimmy Johnson went on to win his 5th consecutive Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series title. We didn't always see these swaps among crew guys in the postseason, but it's happened a lot lately, it seems like, Jeff.
Well, you've got to take and put everybody, I mean, your number one people up there on the line. I mean, if you've got a team that's performing better within the company, you've got to protect the company. So you need to make these kind of changes. They look at the numbers and they say, guys, you know, your team's outperforming our other team by a couple of 3/10 on a regular basis. We've got to not only take care of the company, but we've got to do something for the driver, right, Ricky? I mean, you want the best you can get out there because you're out there doing your best.
Yeah, it's exactly right. I think as a driver, it makes you feel confident that your team is giving you the best possible opportunity to make a run in the playoffs. And the stats that we see every week from pit stops and the data debrief that we get is pretty astonishing, how you can look at every single part of the pit stop and see where you're losing the time. And so I think we get to analyze it a lot more this day and age.
A new pit crew for Kyle Busch going into the 2017 playoffs. He's going for his 2nd championship, just like Brad Keselowski, who won the title in 2012. But in this elimination-style format, driver 2 has never made it to Homestead, something he hopes to change this year.
Oh, that's just it. We got to get over that hump, and we've been close. Really, Martinsville has killed us 2 of the last 3 years, and parts failures in general have killed us every year of this format. So we got to get over those. We've had great speed at Homestead. We've ran really well in a lot of the rounds, winning at Talladega. We've won races in this playoff format. So we know we're capable of it, but we got to get over those humps, and I think we can do it. One of the key sources is going to be Martinsville. We won there last spring. Talladega, of course, is one of our best tracks, and even entering the playoffs at Chicago. Again, a great track for us. So we feel like we've got a great opportunity to do it, but we got to get rid of those bad races. You can't have a bad race.
You've talked so much in the last couple of months about the dominance of Toyota and what everyone needs to do to catch up to their speed. For you guys to compete, you need what, Brad, in the playoffs?
Well, in order to win a race and a championship, it takes speed, execution, and luck. Our execution has been pretty strong. Luck's not in our hands. That's up above. But the speed has been just a little bit short. And so we need a little bit of speed to catch up with those guys. If the chase or the playoffs come down just to speed and execution is the same and luck's the same, the Toyotas will win every race with their speed. They're way ahead of everyone else. So we know that we have work to do and that we need some help to get back to an even playing field to where we can kind of outrace them with execution and, of course, the luck factor.
I think one of the biggest surprises this year has got to be the fact that your teammate Joey Logano unable to make it into the playoffs. Given that fact, how can that 22 team aid you guys in a run to the championship, Brad?
Well, I don't have any expectations of the 22 team helping us to win the championship. You know, they're out there trying to race and make the most of their season, and you know, the last thing I can ask of them is to, you know, give anything up. And so I would never ask them to give anything up. But if there is a way help along the way, way to help along the way, I think they would be more than willing to do so as long as it doesn't hurt their day. So, I mean, we'll see how that all plays out. There's not a lot of opportunity for that to happen, but you never know.
Brad, you got Roger his first championship back in 2012. Best of luck doing it again. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you, WA. Can't wait to be back on Race Hub soon.
Good to hear from Brad. And let's talk Ford for a minute, because it's been a really good year for you guys in the blue oval category. I mean, Ryan Blaney gets his first win, a couple of victories for you, first time at NASCAR's top level. Brad and Kevin, Kurt all going for a second championship. How confident is the organization when you look at it from a manufacturer perspective, Ricky?
We feel really good. We started the season feeling probably better than anybody else. And then, you know, as Brad talked about, you know, other manufacturers kind of coming on as of late, you know, we just got to keep our heads down, stay focused. Everybody at Ford Performance, Roush Yates Engines, is doing an awesome job at giving us tools. We just got to keep trying to make those tools better and take and use it to the best of our ability.
Earlier in the season, about mid-season, we interviewed your crew chief, Brian Patty, and we asked him then, you know, are you guys a championship team? And he said no, but when it comes time, we will be prepared. How do you assess your preparation right now?
I look at our preparation and feel like we've done a lot. You know, I feel like this is the best mile-and-a-half car that we've had all year, and that's really all you can ask for. I mean, yeah, we want it to be the best out of everybody in the field, but at least it can be the best of what we're bringing to the racetrack. And as a driver, that's all I can ask for. I feel like, you know, the chemistry in our team is, you know, as best as it's ever been.
Hard for me to believe. The last time Ford won a championship, 2004, with Kurt Busch when he was driving for Jack Roush. But something tells me you guys are loaded up and ready to go, and that could change in 2017. Okay, the wait is almost over. Our first trip into the playoff war room is next. Who's going to Homestead? Who's got the title? We tell you next.
I drive with the teal and gold.
I drive with the teal and gold.
I drive with teal and gold.
I drive with the teal and gold wheel because I want to help find a cure for cancer.
Because I want to help everybody with cancer.
Because I want to support the fight against cancer.
Because I care.
By running this teal and gold steering wheel, that's going to be auctioned off after the month of September, so you can go out and buy the steering wheel that I use in my race car for a lot of cool races. And it's a neat deal that they're doing to bring awareness to ovarian cancer and to raise money for the Martin Truex Jr. Foundation.
Sherry is one tough cookie, and she inspires us all to fight. And we're glad to run that special teal steering wheel and support her cause.
We all know race car drivers are tough, aggressive, they work hard, but no one any more tough, aggressive, or hardworking than Sherry Pollock's, doing some great things for so many, and we congratulate her and Martin on all their success off track, and Martin doing great things on track as well. The #1 seed going to the playoffs. You look at his regular season from 16 to 17, I thought last year was good. Turns out 2017 even better, Jeff.
Yeah, what I'm seeing here right now, and I think Ricky will agree with me, the wins have doubled, the top 5s have doubled, as well as the top 10s. This is how you wind up getting to be where, Ricky?
First in the standings, which come with 15 more playoff points.
Well, you mentioned the playoff points, and Jeff, if you clear this out, we will go and look at a little snapshot of his postseason in 2016. Didn't end the way he wanted, but a reminder, that 40th at Talladega wouldn't have been as big a deal if he had had all those playoff points, that insurance policy, Ricky.
Definitely. He's almost got a race more points than some of us that are starting this playoff. And not to mention, we still got more races to go. He can still accumulate more points.
Yeah, that's the thing right now about this organization more than anything else. And Adam, I'll be honest with you, I think it's going to be real hard to keep this guy from, number one, getting to Homestead, next to impossible, and number two, don't be one bit surprised if he doesn't wind up hoisting that new trophy.
Most everyone would say driver 78 is the favorite to win the title this season. But what did the guys in the war room think? Find out now. Welcome to the playoffs 2017. We are in the war room. We're going from 16 to 1. And here are the players. America's crew chief, Larry McReynolds, is here. Regan Smith is with us in the war room. Drew Blickensderfer from Richard Petty Motorsports, and Andy Petrie. Are you guys ready for this?
Absolutely.
Now, we fast forwarded the process just a little bit. We've already put the drivers that will advance to the round of 12. That means 4 are going home. Jamie McMurray, Austin Dillon, Casey Kane, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. going home after one round of the playoffs. Let's start moving to the round of 8. I'm going to start throwing out drivers, and you tell me if you think they're going to advance. Martin Truex Jr., do we all agree?
Yes.
Let's put him on the board. What about Kyle Busch? Is Kyle going to advance to the round of 8? We all agree on that?
Kyle's in a good spot here.
Yep. Let's go to the other Kyle. Kyle Larson finished the regular season with a victory on Saturday night at Richmond. How do we feel about driver 42?
No-brainer.
Yep.
All right. So I get down to Brad Keselowski, who enters the playoffs as the number 4 seed. What do we think about driver 2 making it down to the round of 8?
I do believe they'll make it. I like the speed they've been showing recently with the 2-car, not necessarily Penske as a whole, but that 2-car.
So very quickly, we've got half of the round of 8 filled up. Next name I'm going to go to, Denny Hamlin.
I think the Toyotas are fast right now. Yeah, they've hit on something the last couple of months. I think the 11's riding that wave.
First 2 years in this format, all about Kevin Harvick. Won the title in 14, went to the Final Four in 15. Do we think driver 4 makes it to the round of 8?
You can't bet against Harvick ever in this situation. He is so clutch, Kevin.
They're not as fast, though, this year as they were last year.
Last couple of years, I mean, we'd have probably had him going over there, one of the first guys to make an advance into round 3. But, you know, to Andy's point, speed not there, but I don't see it.
Yeah, we're betting on the driver, not the cars right now.
Matt Kenseth, look at the runs he's had the last month and a half. I know he's not found victory lane, but my gosh, they're fast every single week.
I'm with Larry. I think Matt Kenseth is a guy that he's a past champion. He's going to find a way to get it done.
I'm going to make a case for Ryan Newman in that 31 because for some reason, they know how to point their way to the final. They've done it before.
The guy we're blowing off 7 time. I don't know how you bet against that guy.
You would have thought I would have learned my lesson last year. Yeah. I think he's going to make it from round 1 to round 2, but I think this is the end of the line for that 48 car based on numbers today.
I look at Kurt Busch. He's had so much speed lately, and that's what I look at is who's peaking at the right time. I really think the 41 team is right there.
Let's go ahead and complete the round of 8. It's Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, Matt Kenseth, and Kurt Busch. Everybody give me a driver that they feel like for sure is going to be running for a championship. Larry, let's start with you.
Well, I think you start with the top of the sheet there. How do you not move Martin Truex Jr. to the championship 4 round?
Drew?
Kyle Busch. You know, I think Kyle, they've shown great speed at Martinsville recently. He's got enough playoff points to help him out in case they have a struggle at Texas or Phoenix. And the speed of the Gibbs cars, they're really fast when it counts.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, Martin Truex Jr. for sure. I have to agree with you guys there. But Kyle Larson he's been right there with him on speed almost all year long. And I see Kyle Larson being a lock for the Final Four.
Do we all agree that when we reach this stage, it's a no-brainer? 78, 18, 42 are all going to Homestead. We all agree on that?
I agree with that.
All right, let's put them in. Who joins them to run for the championship?
My vote would be Denny Hamlin based on numbers that we've seen of late and at 11.
Regan?
Well, I'm going to stick with Harvick in this situation, and not because of Phoenix, just because of the body of work of what he's done in the playoffs over the years.
I'm going to go with the 2 of Brad Keselowski.
This is working out well.
Yeah, exactly. I think Martinsville's a great place for the 2. I think, like we talked about earlier with the crew chief, I think Paul Wolfe puts himself in great positions for both Texas and Phoenix to be out front. So I think the 2 can advance.
I'm going to go with Kevin Harvick, and the reason is when Kevin won the championship, they weren't running that great. They weren't all that good at this point of the season. And I think that's what's going to happen this year. I think they haven't really had that speed, you know, all year, but when it comes down to getting to the Final Four, I believe Harvick's going to be the guy.
Let's go ahead and put Kevin Harvick in Homestead. Now the question becomes, who is the champion in 2017? You all have a card with a driver's number on it. Regan, who's going to win the title?
For me, it's the guy that I think is going to be fastest at Homestead. Kyle Larson's our champion.
What do you say, Drew?
I didn't vote for this guy necessarily or make an argument, but Kyle Busch. I think the 18 car has a lot of speed, 2015 champ experience. You can't put that a number on that.
We've got a 42, we've got an 18. Andy, what do you say?
Kyle Larson has been the fastest guy at that track almost every year he's been there. It's going to be Kyle Larson. He's going to win the championship.
Based on us, Kyle will win the championship,
That's right.
but I have been convinced that it's not going to be Martin Truex Jr. It's going to be Kyle Larson.
I'm a bit surprised in where we landed, but I'm going to put his name by the championship trophy. Based on what you guys have said here today, it will be Kyle Larson who is the winner of the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Championship in 2017. Always fun to be in the war room and make these predictions, and we'll talk more about Kyle Larson in a moment. First, though, I want to address you and what the guy said in the war room, Ricky. Had you going out early, and I'm curious, making your first playoff appearance, do you guys feel like an underdog as we head to Chicago?
We definitely feel like an underdog, but, you know, that's something that I enjoy in Xfinity Series. We were an underdog to win championships, and
you won two of them.
We won 2 in a row, and you know, that was fun to kind of spoil it. You know, good news is y'all aren't really making the choices, so who's going to the next round? So we make those choices, what we do on the racetrack, and we're ready to go to battle.
You know, the thing is, right now, I'm talking with him off camera. You know, I feel like that these guys are going to wind up getting themselves a big surprise here out of this 17 car, because Ricky's attitude and knowing Brian Patty's work ethic, along with other guys over there at Roush Fenway, I think they're going to be turning everybody's head this upcoming weekend.
That's our plan.
I'll make a pitch. You only got to be 4 guys in the opening round, and then we get to the round of 12, and I think Talladega's in that round, and you're a pretty good player. Okay, so this might work out. Hey, our guy said it's going to be Kyle Larson who wins the championship, and if he did, he would join some elite company. You talk about drivers quickest to get that first championship. Earnhardt did it in 1980, his second season. Gordon in his third campaign, just like Brad Keselowski. Larson, if he did it this year, would join Benny Parsons, Tony Stewart, Kenseth, Kurt Busch as drivers to win NASCAR's biggest prize in only their 4th campaign. I know you spend a lot of time with Larson. The guys in the war room liked him. What do you like about driver 42 in this postseason format, Ricky?
I like that he's had speed at all different racetracks. And if you look back to the beginning of the season, I feel like they can snap their fingers, get back into that form, finish second so many times, won 4 races so far this year. And Homestead's his favorite racetrack. And I've got, if I'm not winning my championship, then I've got Kyle circled.
Thing is about this organization is that, yeah, they got speed in the race car, but one area we do not want to overlook, they've got a really fast pit crew, and I think we saw that on Saturday night. They did what they had to do there, put him in a position. He took care of the rest.
If you can do it on pit road so many times, especially at Homestead, forget how good Kyle is on track. If you can deliver on pit road in South Florida, a lot of times you're going to go home with the big trophy. And speaking of the big trophy, there's a look at it right there. Who has the upper hand as we head to Chicago? Todd Fuhrman tells us next. A reminder this weekend, it is the regular season finale for the Camping World Truck Series. They are live tomorrow night, Chicagoland Speedway. Practice today. What a big weekend it is. Friday, 5 Eastern time, we've got qualifying, the setup at 8, green flag at 8:30. It's all live on FS1. That's in Chicago. In a couple of weeks, the trucks are in Las Vegas. That's where we go now to let it ride. We say hello to Todd Fuhrman. What's up, Todd?
Always good to be back with you, Adam, especially talking about racing, where all of a sudden the stakes are even higher than what they are during the regular season.
Okay, we know right now is all about the championship chase. But before we look ahead, let's look back. How do the odds preseason for our championship favorites compare to what we see right now?
There was plenty of value to be had. If you grab Martin Truex at 17-2 before the season, you're sitting pretty right now with his odds all the way down to 7-2. Kyle Larson, also a big-time mover, 20-1 before the season started, now down to 9-2. He's obviously the biggest thorn in the 78 side, if you believe his interviews earlier this week.
And let's go with Kyle Larson for a minute, because I looked at his odds last week at Richmond. The board had him at 7-1. He goes out and wins in the final race of the regular season. What are we looking at this weekend at Chicago, Todd?
And clearly you didn't think you were going to have a chance to cash that ticket with the 42. His odds not much different this weekend at Chicagoland. 6-1. He's mentioned amongst the favorites.
All right, let's go there now. As you see the numbers on Kyle Larson, where he was last week when he got the win, where he is this week, you said it, 6-1 going to Chicagoland Speedway. Who are the favorites Sunday afternoon in the playoff opener?
Stop me if you've heard this, Adam. Mile-and-a-half track, it's a 78, priced at 4-1. Martin Truex, the only driver this season to finish top 10 on every mile-and-a-half track. His average finish better than fourth. Laps led the circuit. And oh, by the way, he just happened to win here a season ago. And Kyle Busch right there alongside him and Larson at 6-1 as well. Kyle has been a consistent top 5 finisher at mile-and-a-half tracks of late.
A pair of Toyotas in the favorite category. What about value picks?
A pair of Toyotas in the value picks as well. The 11 of Denny Hamlin and the 20 of Matt Kenseth, both priced at 14-1. Denny Hamlin quietly, or maybe not so much, top 5 finishes 9 out of the last 12 races. Matt Kenseth, I worry about his advancement, but I think he can be a force in Chicagoland this weekend.
Give me a long shot for Chicago on Sunday, Todd.
We'll take a couple of the youngsters. Ryan Blaney at 20-1. Mile-and-a-half tracks have been his strongest so far this season. And a non-chaser in Eric Jones. You have to wonder if things played out a little bit differently for the 77. Top 10 finishes consistently lately. I like the 30-1 that's available right there.
33-1 for Eric Jones, who has nothing to lose. And oh, by the way, has won in the Xfinity Series at Chicagoland Speedway. Todd, great to see you, and we'll catch up with you next time.
Always a pleasure, Adam.
Todd always so good at breaking down the numbers and the favorites going to Chicago this weekend. No surprise, the Toyotas. And we know, especially Martin Truex Jr. and that 78 team, very strong on a mile-and-a-half, Jeff.
Yeah, and the thing is, we've been sitting here talking to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. about what's going on behind the scenes with his organization. I mean, you think for 1 minute the rest of these organizations, whether it be Stewart-Haas or whether it's Hendrick Motorsports or even Ganassi, that they don't have their basically aces up the sleeve, knowing that they've got to bring their best cars to that first race at Chicagoland and flex their muscle early on to let Toyota know you can't take it. When you don't take it away from us that easy.
Everyone says step it up for the playoffs,
That's exactly right.
What happens if Truex steps it up for the playoffs? Because,
they
have been busting at the seams all season long, Jeff.
And I guarantee you that's what they're doing right now. They've been working on their car just like everybody else, but you hope that you've outworked them, outfoxed them, and in the end, you outran them.
Oh, by the way, who won Chicago last year? Do you know?
I'm sure you're going to tell me.
Truex, yes. He is the defending race winner. Take away the fact that we're opening up the playoffs this weekend. And the biggest story, Danica departing Stewart-Haas Racing. That and more silly season discussion next on The Hub. Every driver competing in that race someday would love to be competing for this. It is NASCAR's biggest prize, the trophy for winning the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Championship. Okay, so Jeff, we got a lot to go through in the next 10 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. And most of it, as we know, is going to be decided on track. But as we have learned throughout 2017, occasionally drivers and teams step over the line. These are the 4 drivers in the playoffs that have picked up a points penalty for one reason or another throughout the regular season. So what should we do inspection-wise now that we're in the postseason?
Well, normally throughout the entire season, we've been going with the winner, second place, and then a random draw to take it back to the R&D center. I was thinking the other day, why do we not just go and take all 16 competitors back to the R&D center, make sure they're all checked out so that somebody's not trying to take advantage of the rest of them thinking, well, maybe I won't get drawn and I'll get a little bit of advantage to get through a place like round one. What do you think about that, Ricky?
I look at this and say, as a driver, you want your team pushing the limits. And, it's definitely paid off for these 4. They're in the playoffs, and they've been fast all year.
All right, we'll see if NASCAR is listening.
You don't want to be
expected. Something tells me NASCAR is not going to take you up on your idea.
Not.
But I think common sense-wise, it is a good thought. Okay, so much talk about the playoffs. There was other big news this week, and the headline coming out Tuesday, Danica Patrick announcing she will not return to Stewart-Haas Racing in 2017. The other big news that came, Smithfield said they would leave. Smithfield Foods said they would leave RPM and go over to SHR beginning with the 2018 season. So let's start with Danica. And you think about all the success that she has had in her career. It all started in IndyCar, right? That's where she made her early headlines. So much success when it comes to the Indianapolis 500. So then she said, I'm going to go drive a stock car. And boy, has she turned heads when it comes to NASCAR. 180 starts, those 7 top 10s, and, of course, the big highlight, winning the Daytona 500 pole back in 2013. Ricky, we all know you're very close to this situation. What have the last couple of days been like?
Yeah, it's, she's still working. Everybody, sees what she does on the racetrack, but, man, she's traveling and busy all the time. So she's been working all week, but, I know for her, she's a competitor. She's a race car driver. She wants to be out there competing. If the right situation comes up where they can get the right sponsor, right team, there's no doubt in my mind she wants to be there, and we've talked about that. But, she's done so much for this sport and so much in a short amount of time for NASCAR and for all the fans. So hopefully we can see her land somewhere.
I know the fan base would love to see her back behind the wheel of a race car. And the next question now becomes, who's going to drive the 10 for Tony Stewart and company next year? Matt Kenseth, Casey Kane both said at Media Day yesterday, we are not going to be at SHR in the 10. Eric Almirola, I mean, he's the one domino that's not fallen and still left hanging out there.
That's
Jeff.
the one thing that was being talked about even back, in late summer, that, this looked like this was going to be a place where he was going to wind up going and possibly bringing Smithfield with him. But we know now SHR is going to get Smithfield. So I wouldn't be one bit surprised to see Eric Almirola driving the 10.
Yeah, I agree. I think, all the cards are aligning to look like that's what's going to happen.
The other thing we learned this week, and it was so great when all this news was breaking, to have Drew Blickensderfer on with us, crew chief of the 43 over at Richard Petty Motorsports, and he shared with us that RPM is in heavy negotiations with this guy, Darrell Wallace Jr., to drive the 43. Of course, he filled in 4 races earlier this season.
He did a great job.
He did a great job when Eric injured his back at Kansas. A very capable driver, Ricky.
Yes, for sure. I think if you look at the progression of the races that he got to run, and the strides that he made in those 4 starts, and I think he would definitely be a good candidate for it.
So much news this week. I mean, the playoff, silly season it is, that time of the year. It's also the time of year to be handing out that trophy. We put a bow on this edition of NASCAR Race Hub after the break. Back on NASCAR Race Hub, this reminder, our Beyond the Wheel short film series returns next week. Made in Japan, looks back on the mid-90s NASCAR trek to Japan for an unprecedented exhibition race. The 7,000-mile trip captured one of the greatest culture mixes in racing history. Made in Japan, next Wednesday, 6 Eastern, right here on the Hub. Big weekend in NASCAR. All starts tomorrow evening. Camping World Truck Series live on FS1, qualifying at 5, our pre-race coverage at 8. Race day back here Sunday at 11:30 to get you ready for the playoff opener. We got Victory Lane on Sunday evening and the Monster Energy Series Going Green Sunday afternoon, shortly after 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Now to our social garage. Richmond Raceway tweeting this: we have officially broken ground and the future is coming soon. Hashtag RR, that would be Richmond Raceway reimagined is a go. Jeff, can you say that 10 times fast?
I am
Richmond
smart enough to try that.
Raceway reimagined. Do you want to try that, Ricky? You're not
Negative.
You don't want to go there.
Yeah, I'll let you handle it.
Well, we did it, and we didn't screw it up, so maybe we should just leave it at that.
Good idea. Good
okay?
idea. Yes.
Always good to see you, Jeff.
Great to be
here. I know
here.
you're excited about the playoffs. Ricky, so good to have you in, and best of luck at Chicago, all right?
Ready to get to
I'm telling you right now, here's the spoiler right here. Everybody needs to know that. He's a spoiler.
If that sport coat says anything about it, he will be the champion.
That's right.
That's easy for him to say sport
That's
coat.
right. Richmond reimagined and sport coat. All right, there we go. See you soon. ARCA is next. It's been a great week on NASCAR Race Hub. Here is a look back with a little thing we call the Hubcap.
Hello there, welcome into NASCAR Race Hub.
And it is officially time for us to step up our game because the playoffs are here in NASCAR.
Just you have to step up your game. I'm already up there.
And here is where that cut line is going to be, okay? Let me correct that right here.
13.
Larry McReynolds, are these Eclipse approved?
14.
Have you ever been radio sweetheart? That's one on my resume I don't think I want. And my mother watches this show.
I'll let him know to put them 2 hands on the wheel.
I just hope his mother isn't watching.
No.
Nah, see, this is only supposed to be 15.
Holy moly.
Oh, it was real loud. Not that I don't love the sound of your voice and all, but...
Hey, Kyle, it's Shannon. Can you hear us?
Yeah, it's a little loud,
Hey, Kyle, it's Shannon Spake from Race Hub. What's up?
Hey.
You look good there in your Lowe's blue.
Are you hitting on me?
Ryan Newman, so comfortable, so laid back, he can already eat dessert before the playoff starts. What should we read into this?
That's not dessert, that's the main course, man.
See what I could do with Larson. This is Larson here.
1 second before we finish this one.
That's controversial.
We're gonna have a sweat over here with these blocks.